Today is the 26th of May, and after weeks of interviews, we've just been appointed as Director of Football at Ipswich Town. As a child, we used to sneak into the ground here and watch Championship football. As a teenager, we were watching Ipswich Town play in League One, but now we're responsible for signing Premier League players, hiring managers, approving stadium upgrades, and managing staff. After finally signing the contract, we sit back and relax by watching some sports headlines.
Some breaking news from the Premier League. After 3 years with the club, Ipswich Town manager Kieran McKenna has agreed to join Brighton and Hove Albion with immediate effect.
The club was promoted 3 weeks ago today, but we've already lost our manager. Kieran McKenna has obviously left to replace De Zerbi at Brighton, so one of our first tasks is to replace him. We'll need an inspirational manager, someone who's fought relegation in the Premier League before, so let's have a look through some of the applications. Of course, we have Big Sam Allardyce. He's applied for every Premier League job for the last couple of decades. Similarly, we also have Steve Bruce, but he's a total footballing dinosaur. Two of the applications do seem very interesting though. The first is Lincoln City's manager Michael Skubala, who's the former manager of the England futsal team. We'll keep an eye on him for the future, but this time I like former England under-17s manager Steve Cooper. This application shows the style of play he wants to use, his general philosophy, and he seems like he could be the perfect fit. It's a done deal, so now we have a manager and we have a style of play. Let's give him some players to use. We've been given a nice amount of cash from our biggest sponsor, Ed Sheeran, but they also want to have a bit of a say in some of our signings. Our goal is simply to survive in the league this season. If we do that, Ed Sheeran will continue to match the highest sponsor offer we get next year, but he's also getting kind of annoying by sending us emails with potential signings almost every day. Instead of listening to a pop singer's scout reports, we listened to Steve Cooper, and we signed Joe Worrell and Brian Yates from Forest early in the window, as well as his former under-17s and Swansea captain, Joel Latty-Boudier. Steve Cooper is also very excited about the prospect of Morgan Rogers, and he agrees to join on loan. We've got a really good core of young British talent already in the squad, but we have still got some work to do. It's important to have a strong, experienced goalkeeper in any relegation fight, so Kasper Schmeichel and Calvin Kelleher are listed as potential options. Going into pre-season, our starting lineup looks something like this. Veteran and Premier League winner Kasper Schmeichel was in goal, with Worrell, Wolfenden and Tuanzebe forming a back three in defence. In front of them, we had new signings Jed Spence, Ryan Yates and Ben Sheaf, who joined last year's Player of the Season Leif Davis in midfield. Playoff hero Connor Chaplin was behind the strikers, with Kiefer Moore and Morgan Rogers being a very interesting combination up front. As Director of Football, we'll only be attending the most important games of the season. Opening day of the Premier League season is one of those matches, and our new manager was starting 5 of the players we've just signed, and the performance for both teams was at a higher standard than we'd ever imagined. The team was set up in Cooper's favoured 3-4-1-2 formation, and it really did highlight the need to improve the team's ability on the ball. We had a lot of hard-working players, but the majority of our chances came from Spence and Davis beating their fullback and floating across into Kiefer Moore so he could try and head it into the back of the net. Kiefer Moore is now 33 years old, so that tactic went predictably poorly. Still, a 1-1 draw against a good team is a solid, if unspectacular way to open our Premier League account. The media were saying that our summer window was shaping up to be similar to Forest's first year in the Premier League. Like them, we were a newly promoted team with a lot to prove, and we did nearly have to rebuild our entire squad. Now we have a talented team though, but we will really need to work hard to stay in this league.
As the clock strikes 11, we can officially declare this record-breaking transfer window has closed. So, who do we think will...
Our work in the transfer window was now over, so it was time to work on refreshing the training staff. Steve Cooper prefers a really small set of staff, so former Tractor Boys goalkeeper Bartosz Bilikowski and former Ipswich Player of the Season Luke Chambers both joined the team. They might not be the best, but they'll be taking over both the under-18s and under-21s team for the rest of the season. It's important to think about these teams because they're the teams that we're going to be focused on for the next 3 months. Our under-18s team is an Academy Level 1 side for the first time, and our under-21s team will be playing in both the EFL Trophy and the Premier League 2 this year. We were in attendance for a bunch of games early on in the season. Gerard Buabo is someone who has a lot of hype inside the club, and he really caught our eye in a game against Leicester's under-21s team. It's actually in the same game that one of Leicester's trialists caught our eye too. Christian McFarlane is on trial from LAFC, so we invite him to Suffolk to train with our first team. He does really well, and an agreement is reached. Christian McFarlane is the newest Tractor Boy. As Boabo and McFarlane help the team into the EFL Trophy knockout rounds, we agree with Chairman Mike O'Leary that this season is going pretty well at both the junior and senior level. Back in the Premier League, Ipswich are defying some of the early season talk of relegation, and we're definitely still in the running to survive. The January transfer window will be crucial for us. We'll need to get rid of some deadwood and bring in some quality players. There are rumours that Leif Davis could get a big offer, and he's been our best player of the season so far yet again. We do have some preliminary contact from both AC Milan and Brighton, but it's actually Newcastle who put the first bid in. Leif is a Geordie and a Newcastle fan, so we have no choice but to accept this offer. We reinvest the £18 million in a loan-to-buy signing of Eddie Nketiah and a Davis replacement with Ryan Sessegnon. If these are the right moves in the transfer market, we have a really good chance of staying in the Premier League. If we've got these wrong, we could be in serious danger. We have a talented manager and we've got a good squad, but if we match the first half of the season again, we're probably going to find ourselves relegated. After training really well in the past week, both Nketiah and Sessegnon are set to make their squad debuts in the FA Cup third round. The third round of this competition is a special part of the season, and for the past couple of decades it would have been an achievement for Ipswich to get this far. As a Premier League team, we're expected to win this game, so we'll be attending and watching the whole thing. We're not the only director here. Newly appointed honorary board member Ed Sheeran is also attending his first game of 2025. Playing a lower league team does add some pressure onto the players, but it didn't look like they were feeling it. The gulf in quality was so huge, and it only increased when Nketiah and Sessegnon came on at half-time. McFarlane and Boabo also both made their debuts late on, and the mood in the dressing room and the boardroom is stellar. We used the lull between January and March to take some well-earned vacation time, but when we return from Hawaii, Ipswich have already confirmed their spots in the EFL Trophy final and FA Cup semi-final. It's not all good news because both fans and the media are starting to criticise some of Cooper's decisions, but the league table doesn't lie. A series of points deductions for Forest, Leicester and Leeds have seen us rise from 18th to potential safety in 16th. It always seems strange that the EFL Trophy is still held at Wembley, but as a director of football, we see this as an opportunity. We do some promos with Ed Sheeran, and you get a free ticket with every new shirt you buy, which means we sell out our entire allocation. Our team is also allowed 2 players with over 40 senior appearances, so Cooper allows Ali Al-Hamadi and Sam Morsey to join the under-21s for this one match, and that gives us a huge advantage over our League One opponents. It wouldn't really mean anything if we lost this match, but getting some silverware is always nice. We would also potentially become the first academy not only to win the final, but also the first academy to ever make it past the quarterfinals. The final got off to a bit of a flyer. Gerard Boabo's strike impressed everyone in the director's box. The chairman was here, Ed Sheeran was here, and of course, we were in attendance as well. But the Portsmouth passing game took over. They seemed to be a bit more technical than our actual first team squad, but we had all the threat. Adams got down the wing, and Al-Hamadi, our senior player, was waiting in the middle, and his finish was absolutely perfect. Half-time passed, and yet again Portsmouth's attacking formation left them vulnerable at the back. Payne got down the wing, and it was actually Massimo Luongo going for the diving header that didn't quite connect. Pure dedication from a senior player playing in such a minor competition. Portsmouth would have one last attack, but great defending from our lads and calm, composed play would see us just pass it out from the back. Not only did this impress the boardroom, but it also impressed manager Steve Cooper, who was watching this match on TV. He knew some of these players could be trusted next year if we do survive in the Premier League, and he was definitely willing to give them some game time off the bench for the rest of this season. This was just a moment for the fans though. It doesn't matter who funds this or who organised the players or gave the approvals. The moment the trophy gets lifted is purely for the fans. We didn't have to wait long to return to Wembley. It was only 3 weeks later that we were playing there again in the FA Cup semi-final. Of course, we also had to attend this match too. Ipswich have made the semi-finals on 3 occasions and they have lost 2 of them. The one time they did win, they went on to win the entire tournament. So there was a lot of pressure on the Tractor Boys, and for the first time this season, it looked like the players were actually feeling it. It didn't look good when Doucouré got through one-on-one, and it looked even worse when Mateta would volley in, and then he would run over and celebrate with Oliver Glasner. One thing Crystal Palace had over us was a ton of flair. Echeberry Eze being one of the main proponents, and maybe it's a sign that we should sign some more flair next year. Nketiah has quite a lot himself though, and what a turn that was to get away from his defender as he sprinted into the gap. Every fan in the stadium stood up and watched as Eddie Nketiah equalised the match. It's been a topic of debate between me and the chairman if we should actually be terminating his loan or if we should be triggering that loan to buy contract. And right now, it's looking like the loan to buy could become a permanent deal. Later in the game, Doucouré found Eze bombing through the middle, and he got one-on-one, and he would make it 2-1 to Crystal Palace. He celebrated with Glasner again. Even with 20 minutes to go, you can't write off this Ipswich side. This is one of the times that Cooper needs to earn his money. He's not been so good at making changes, but when he brought Kiefer Moore into the middle and started pushing Jed Spence up, it looked like we could get back into the game. This didn't quite work as we planned, and in the 3rd minute of stoppage time, Eze would put Crystal Palace ahead, and that would be how the game finished. The final few months were calm both on and off the pitch. No work was really needed from us, and we attended a few training sessions in a few of the final match days, including the win that kept us in the Premier League. We were never really at risk though. Cooper had kept the team above the relegation zone by at least 4 points since those deductions all the way back in March. We ended up finishing in 16th place. We can't be too disappointed. Our target was just to survive this season. Cooper's extended for another year and all attention goes on to next season. Mike O'Leary lets us know that we'll get the biggest budget he can possibly offer, but we will need to keep an eye on both financial fair play and PSR. Of course, we accept these conditions. As the season comes to a close, we check our email box one last time. There's an email from an address that I don't quite recognise. It looks like it's from Manchester United's owner, Jim Ratcliffe. He wants us to become their director of football and be responsible for managing signings as well as their academy, and he wants us to start immediately. It'll take some thinking, but it is actually a very tempting offer.